You are at war even if you don't see it. Every glance, every meeting, every word exchanged is a battle for power, influence, and control. You can't win this war with brute force. You win it with strategy, with patience, with misdirection. Sun Tzu taught that the greatest victories are won before the battle begins. That deception is not weakness, it is wisdom. While others reveal their plans, you must stay unreadable. While they chase attention, you move in silence. If you want to master the game without ever playing by their rules, subscribe now. And tell us, where are you watching from? You wake each morning believing you are simply living your life, going to work, meeting friends, building relationships, making decisions. But you are wrong. You are not living. You are navigating a battlefield. Every interaction is a contest. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every silence is a statement of power. Most people stumble through this battlefield blind. They speak when they should listen. They reveal when they should conceal. They attack when they should retreat. They make themselves predictable, readable, conquerable. And then they wonder why others seem to advance while they remain stationary. I am Sun Tzu. For over 2,000 years, my words have guided emperors and generals. Today, they will guide you. The battlefield has changed, but the principles remain eternal. Your enemies no longer carry swords, they carry smartphones. They no longer siege castles, they siege your attention, your energy, your focus. Every email is reconnaissance. Every meeting is positioning. Every conversation reveals intelligence about your opponent's next move. The person sitting across from you at dinner is mapping your weaknesses. The colleague who asks about your weekend is gathering data on your priorities. The friend who offers unsolicited advice is testing your resolve. This is not paranoia. This is awareness. The unaware become casualties. The aware become commanders. But here's what most people don't understand. This war is not fought with aggression. It is fought with stillness, not with volume, but with silence, not with force, but with patience. The master warrior wins without fighting, because he has already positioned himself for victory before his enemy even knows a battle has begun. Look around you. Notice how others operate. They announce their intentions. They broadcast their emotions. They reveal their strategies in casual conversation. They are handing you their battle plans without realizing it. They are showing you exactly how to defeat them. While they speak, you listen. While they react, you observe. While they rush into conflict, you study the terrain. You see what they cannot see, that every conflict is won in the mind before it ever reaches the physical world. Your life is not a series of random events. It is a campaign. Every relationship is an alliance or a threat. Every opportunity is strategic positioning. Every setback is intelligence about enemy movements. When you understand this, truly understand this, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your own victory. The war has already begun. The question is not whether you will fight. The question is whether you will fight like a warrior or die like a fool. Victory is not achieved in the moment of conflict. Victory is achieved in the weeks, months, and years of preparation that precede it. The amateur fights to win. The master wins before fighting. This is the difference between struggle and supremacy. When you see a chess grandmaster defeat an opponent in 20 moves, you are not watching 20 moves. You are watching 20,000 hours of study, practice, and preparation condensed into 20 moments of execution. The victory was secured long before the first piece moved, but most people live their lives in reverse. They wait for opportunities to appear, then scramble to seize them. They react to problems instead of preventing them. They respond to attacks instead of positioning themselves beyond reach. They are always one step behind because they never took the first step ahead. Here's what you must understand. Every battle you will ever fight is being fought right now, in your mind, in your preparation, in your positioning. The outcome is being determined by what you do today, not what you do tomorrow. The meeting you will win next month is being won by the research you do tonight. The negotiation you will dominate next year is being won by the relationships you build this week. Your competitors are not your real competition. Your real competition is time. Every moment you waste in preparation is a moment your opponents gain in positioning. While you debate whether to act, they are acting. While you hesitate, they advance. While you gather courage, they gather intelligence. But let me ask you this. What if you could see your enemy's moves before they make them? What if you could predict their strategy before they even know they have one? This is not magic. This is methodology. Human behavior follows patterns. Patterns can be studied. What can be studied can be predicted. What can be predicted can be controlled. Study your opponents, not their words, their actions, not their promises, their patterns, not their strengths, their weaknesses. Every person you encounter has told you exactly how to defeat them within the first 5 minutes of interaction. They reveal their fears, their desires, their pressure points, their blind spots. They hand you the blueprint for their destruction and call it conversation. Most people don't see this information because they are too busy trying to impress, to convince, to win immediate approval. They miss the intelligence-gathering phase because they skip straight to the attack phase. This is why they lose battles they should have won. The prepared mind sees what the unprepared mind misses. The prepared mind recognizes opportunity disguised as problem. The prepared mind spots weakness disguised as strength. The prepared mind identifies the exact moment when victory becomes inevitable. Preparation is not just gathering resources. Preparation is positioning yourself so that when the moment arrives, you are the only possible choice. You are not competing for the outcome, you are the outcome. Think 10 steps ahead. While they plan their next move, plan their next 10 moves. Anticipate their responses to your responses. Prepare for their preparation. When they finally act, you have already prepared for 17 different versions of their action. This is how you win without fighting. This is how you achieve victory before battle begins. The strong man who appears strong invites challenge. The strong man who appears weak invites underestimation. Underestimation is the most powerful weapon you will ever possess. When your enemies underestimate you, they prepare for the wrong battle. They allocate resources incorrectly. They position themselves for victory against a version of you that does not exist. Your natural instinct is to display your power, to show your intelligence, to demonstrate your capabilities, to prove your worth. This instinct will destroy you. Every strength you reveal becomes a target. Every capability you display becomes a threat they must counter. Every achievement you broadcast becomes a standard they must exceed. Watch how the powerful operate in shadows. The truly wealthy dress modestly. The genuinely intelligent ask simple questions. The actually dangerous move quietly. They understand what you must understand. That perceived weakness is strategic strength. But let me ask you this. What happens when your opponent prepares for battle against a weak enemy and encounters a strong one instead? They panic, they overreact, they make mistakes. They reveal their true strategy in their desperation to adapt. This is how you turn their strength against them. Here's what most people don't understand about this principle. Appearing weak does not mean being weak. It means controlling the information your enemies use to evaluate you. It means managing their expectations so that reality exceeds their calculations. It means letting them underestimate the force they are actually facing. In every negotiation, the person who appears to need the outcome least has the most power. In every relationship, the person who seems most replaceable becomes most valuable. In every competition, the participant who looks least threatening faces the least resistance. This is not coincidence. This is strategy. Your ego wants recognition. Your ego wants credit. Your ego wants everyone to know how capable you are. Your ego is your enemy's greatest intelligence asset. Every time you feed your ego, you feed them information they can use against you. Starve your ego. Feed your strategy. When they ask about your plans, speak vaguely. When they inquire about your capabilities, be modest. When they probe your weaknesses, admit to false ones. Let them think they understand you while ensuring they understand nothing accurate about your true position. The master of deception reveals strength in weakness and weakness in strength. He appears vulnerable in areas where he is invincible. He appears invincible in areas where he is vulnerable. His enemies never know which version they are facing until it is too late to adjust their strategy. But remember, this is not about becoming weak. This is about controlling perception while building real strength in silence. Behind your modest exterior, you are studying, preparing, positioning, gathering resources, building alliances, mapping their weaknesses. You are not hiding your strength. You are multiplying it while they sleep. The moment they realize your true capability is the moment they have already lost. By then, you have positioned yourself beyond their reach. By then, their preparation has been wasted on the wrong target. By then, their strategy has been designed for a battle that will never occur. Let them underestimate you, then overwhelm them with a reality they never saw coming. What they cannot see, they cannot stop. Your intentions are intelligence. Intelligence shared with the enemy becomes the enemy's advantage. Every goal you announce becomes a target for sabotage. Every plan you reveal becomes a plan they can counter. Every ambition you declare becomes a weakness they can exploit. The fool announces his destination and wonders why obstacles appear on his path. The master reaches his destination while his enemies are still debating which direction he might travel. The difference is not in the journey, it is in the silence that surrounds it. Your mouth is your enemy's greatest intelligence asset. Every time you speak about your plans, you arm your opposition. Every time you share your strategy, you hand them your playbook. Every time you reveal your timeline, you give them the opportunity to accelerate their own or sabotage yours. But here's what most people don't understand. Hiding your intentions does not mean having no intentions. It means having such clear intentions that you need no external validation to pursue them. It means being so certain of your path that you require no approval, no encouragement, no input from those who cannot help you reach your destination. Watch how the successful operate. They speak about general principles, but never specific tactics. They discuss past achievements, but never future plans. They share philosophical insights, but never operational intelligence. They understand that loose lips sink ships, and in the battlefield of life, your ship is your strategy. When people ask about your goals, speak in abstractions. When they inquire about your methods, deflect with questions about theirs. When they probe your timeline, admit uncertainty even when you are certain. Let them think you are still figuring it out while you execute with precision. The hidden intention moves like water, flowing around obstacles, finding the path of least resistance, reaching its destination without announcing its presence. Your competitors waste energy preparing for battles you will never fight, because they cannot see the battle you're actually preparing for. But let me ask you this. What happens when your success appears sudden to everyone except you? They call it luck. They call it timing. They call it overnight success. But you know the truth? You know that 10 years of hidden preparation created one moment of visible achievement. You know that silent work produced loud results. Here's the deeper principle. While they are watching your mouth, your hands are moving. While they are listening to your words, your actions are positioning. While they are analyzing your statements, your strategy is advancing. They are fighting the war they think you are fighting, while you are winning the war they don't know exists. Your intentions should be like an iceberg, 10% visible, 90% hidden beneath the surface. Let them see enough to think. They understand, never enough to actually comprehend. Let them believe they have mapped your strategy while you execute a completely different plan. The master keeps his counsel. He speaks only when silence serves no purpose. He reveals only what strengthens his position. He shares only what weakens his opposition. Every word is calculated. Every statement is strategic. Every conversation is reconnaissance. Guard your intentions like state secrets, because in the battlefield of life, they are. Reality is negotiable. Power is perceptual. The person who controls how others see them controls how others treat them. This is not manipulation. This is mastery. The difference between manipulation and mastery is that mastery serves both parties. While manipulation serves only one, most people surrender control of their perception to circumstances. They let others define them based on isolated moments, random encounters, incomplete information. They allow their reputation to be built by accident instead of by design. Then they wonder why they are not taken seriously, not given opportunities, not respected for their true capabilities. But you will not make this mistake. You understand that perception is the battlefield, where most battles are won or lost before they are even fought. You understand that how people see you determines what they offer you, what they expect from you, what they believe you can deliver. The master of perception understands that first impressions are not first impressions. They are only impressions. Every interaction is an opportunity to reinforce or redirect how others perceive you. Every conversation is a chance to plant seeds that will grow into the reputation you desire. Every encounter is reconnaissance that helps you understand what image will serve your purpose best. But here's what most people don't understand about controlling perception. It is not about creating a false image. It is about choosing which true aspects of yourself to emphasize in which contexts. You're not lying about who you are. You're strategically revealing different facets of your authentic self to different audiences for different purposes. With some people, you emphasize your analytical nature. With others, your creative side. With some, your aggressive drive. With others, your collaborative spirit. You are not being fake. You are being strategic. You understand that different situations require different versions of your authentic self. Watch how the successful manage perception. They dress for the role they want, not the role they have. They speak with the authority they seek, not the authority they currently possess. They project the image of their future self while building the capabilities to match that image. They understand that others will see them however they present themselves. When they ask about your background, emphasize the elements that serve your current objective. When they inquire about your experience, highlight the aspects that position you as the solution they need. When they probe your capabilities, demonstrate the skills that make you indispensable in this specific context. But let me ask you this. What happens when your reputation precedes you? Doors open before you knock. Opportunities present themselves before you seek them. Respect is given before you earn it. This is the power of controlled perception. This is how you shape reality through image. The master understands that people make decisions based on perception, then justify those decisions with facts. If your perception is correct, they will find facts to support it. If your perception is powerful, they will create opportunities to prove it. If your perception is valuable, they will pay you accordingly. Your perception is your personal brand. Your personal brand is your competitive advantage. Your competitive advantage determines your market value. Control the perception. Control the value. Control the value. Control the opportunities. Control the opportunities. Control your destiny. Manage your perception like a military campaign. Every action is calculated for its impact on your image. Every word contributes to your narrative. Every choice reinforces your brand. You are not just living your life. You are curating your legend. Noise attracts enemies. Silence builds advantage. The most devastating victories are achieved without warning. The loudest movements produce the smallest results. The quietest actions create the greatest impact. This is not coincidence. This is strategy. Your opponents cannot counter what they cannot see coming. They cannot prepare for what they do not know is approaching. They cannot defend against what they have not identified as a threat. Silence is not the absence of action. Silence is the presence of strategic action. Watch how amateurs operate. They announce every promotion before it is confirmed. They broadcast every opportunity before it is secured. They celebrate every step before the journey is complete. They make noise to feel important while making themselves vulnerable to sabotage. But the master moves differently. He secures the position before revealing the ambition. He completes the negotiation before announcing the intention. He achieves the outcome before discussing the strategy. By the time his success becomes visible, it has become irreversible. Here's what most people don't understand about silent movement. It is not about secrecy for the sake of secrecy. It is about protecting your strategy until your strategy protects itself. It is about moving beyond your enemy's reach before they realize you are moving at all. The silent move allows you to test your strategy without revealing it, to refine your approach without broadcasting it, to fail privately and succeed publicly. Your mistakes become learning experiences instead of reputation damage. Your experiments become intelligence gathering instead of competitive intelligence for your opponents. But let me ask you this. What happens when your success appears to come from nowhere? Your enemies are unprepared. Your competitors are caught off guard. Your critics are silenced by results they never saw developing. You have achieved victory while they were still preparing for battle. The master understands that announcement dilutes action. The energy you spend at talking about your plans is energy you cannot spend executing them. The time you waste explaining your strategy is time your competitors gain to develop counter-strategies. The attention you attract to your movement is attention that brings resistance. Move like shadow. Execute like silence. Advance like fog everywhere and nowhere. Visible and invisible. Present and absent until the moment of arrival. Your enemies know something is happening but cannot identify what. They sense movement but cannot track direction. They feel pressure but cannot locate the source. Silent movement requires discipline. Your ego wants credit during the process. Your ego wants recognition for the effort. Your ego wants applause for the progress. Deny your ego. Feed your strategy. The applause will come when the victory is complete and irreversible. The loudest success grows from the quietest preparation. The most public victory emerges from the most private campaign. The most celebrated outcome develops from the most hidden process. Work in darkness, emerge in light. Your phone is full of people who would sabotage your success if they understood your strategy. Your social circle includes individuals who would compete with your opportunities if they recognized your intentions. Your environment contains forces that would resist your advancement if they perceived your trajectory. Keep them guessing, keep them wondering, keep them analyzing yesterday's moves while you make tomorrow's. By the time they understand your pattern, you have already changed it. By the time they prepare their counter move, your next move has already succeeded. Strike from silence. Succeed in shadows. Let your results announce your strategy after victory is assured. The first to speak reveals the most. The first to act shows their hand. The first to move exposes their position. Patient observation is more powerful than aggressive action. While they reveal their strategy, you conceal yours. While they show their desperation, you demonstrate control. While they expose their weaknesses, you hide your strengths. Every person you encounter is delivering intelligence about themselves within the first moments of interaction. They tell you what they want, what they fear, what they value, what they need. But most people are too busy talking to listen, too busy impressing to observe, too busy reacting to analyze. You will be different. You will listen more than you speak. You will observe more than you perform. You will analyze more than you react. In every conversation, you will gather more intelligence than you reveal. In every interaction, you will learn more than you teach. In every encounter, you will gain more than you give away. The impatient reveal themselves because they cannot tolerate uncertainty. They speak to fill silence. They act to feel productive. They move to appear decisive. But uncertainty is your ally. Silence is your weapon. Stillness is your strategy. While they struggle with discomfort, you gather information. Watch how this works in negotiation. The person who speaks first reveals their acceptable range. The person who makes the first offer shows their desperation level. The person who breaks the silence first demonstrates their weakness. You will not be that person. You will wait. You will listen. You will let them set the boundaries of their own defeat. But here's what most people don't understand about patience. It is not passive waiting. It is active intelligence gathering. While you remain silent, you are studying their body language, analyzing their word choices, mapping their pressure points, identifying their priorities. Every second of silence produces intelligence you can use against them. Let me ask you this: what happens when someone is uncomfortable with silence? They fill it with truth. They reveal information they never intended to share. They expose vulnerabilities they meant to conceal. They hand you their weaknesses while trying to demonstrate their strengths. The master of patience understands that most people cannot tolerate uncertainty long enough to maintain their strategic position. They will reveal their true intentions, their real timeline, their actual limitations, if you simply wait long enough. Your patience becomes their pressure. Your silence becomes their compulsion to speak. In every room, there is someone who cannot wait to prove how much they know. Someone who needs to demonstrate their expertise. Someone who must show their intelligence. Let them. While they perform, you observe. While they explain, you evaluate. While they impress, you collect data that you will use when the time comes to act. Your questions should be strategic instruments. Ask questions that force them to reveal information while appearing to seek clarification. Probe their assumptions without challenging them directly. Test their knowledge without competing with them openly. Make them feel smart while they make themselves vulnerable. The rushed decision is often the wrong decision. The premature action is usually the ineffective action. The immediate response is frequently the suboptimal response. But they do not know this. They believe speed demonstrates competence. They think quick answers prove intelligence. They assume immediate action shows strength. Use their misconceptions against them. Let them rush while you prepare. Let them act while you position. Let them speak while you listen. When they have exhausted their intelligence and revealed their strategy, you will have the information you need to respond with precision. Time is your ally when you know how to use it. Every moment they reveal more is a moment you learn more. Every second they remain exposed is a second you become more prepared. Every instant they show their hand is an instant you gain advantage. Be the last to reveal. Be the final to commit. Be the ultimate to act. Let them exhaust their ammunition while you aim for the target they have just revealed. A confused enemy is a powerless enemy. Confusion disrupts decision-making. Disrupted decision-making leads to poor choices. Poor choices create opportunities for those who remain clear, while others become clouded. This is not about creating chaos. This is about creating strategic uncertainty that serves your purpose. The master of confusion does not confuse randomly. He confuses selectively. He obscures the information that weakens his position while highlighting the information that strengthens it. He creates uncertainty about his intentions while remaining perfectly clear about his objectives. He makes his enemies doubt their assumptions while never doubting his own strategy. Most people try to win through superiority, being stronger, faster, smarter, better equipped. But superiority requires resources. Confusion requires only precision. The precisely applied confusion can defeat superior forces because confused forces cannot coordinate effectively. They waste energy fighting shadows while the real threat moves unopposed. Here's how confusion works as a weapon. Your opponents make decisions based on their understanding of the situation. If you can control their understanding, you can influence their decisions. If you can influence their decisions, you can predict their actions. If you can predict their actions, you can position yourself to benefit from their choices. But let me ask you this: What happens when your enemies cannot read your pattern? They prepare for multiple scenarios instead of one. Preparing for multiple scenarios divides their resources. Divided resources mean weaker responses. Weaker responses create opportunities for stronger counter-responses. This is how confusion becomes control. The confused opponent makes one of two mistakes. They either hesitate or they overreact. Both mistakes serve your purpose. Hesitation gives you time to advance your position. Overreaction gives you intelligence about their true capabilities and concerns. Either way, their confusion becomes your advantage. Watch how this applies in conversation. When they ask a direct question, provide an indirect answer that reveals information you want them to know while concealing information you want to protect. When they probe your weakness, acknowledge a false weakness while hiding your real one. When they test your resolve, demonstrate strength in areas that don't matter while concealing strength in areas that do. Confusion is not the same as deception. Deception involves false information. Confusion involves incomplete information presented in ways that make accurate interpretation difficult. You are not lying. You are creating conditions where the truth serves multiple interpretations, only one of which is correct. The master understands that people hate uncertainty more than they love truth. They will choose a clear wrong answer over an unclear right answer. They will accept a simple false explanation over a complex accurate one. Use this weakness. Provide the simple false explanation when it serves your purpose. Reserve the complex accurate explanation for when it strengthens your position. Your enemy's need for certainty becomes their vulnerability. They want to understand you completely, immediately, accurately. But complete understanding requires information you control. Immediate understanding requires cooperation you can withhold. Accurate understanding requires honesty. You can manipulate strategically. Give them enough information to think they understand while ensuring they understand incorrectly. Feed their analysis with data that leads to false conclusions. Satisfy their need for patterns with patterns that exist only in their imagination. Let them solve puzzles you have created to distract them from games you are actually playing. But remember, never confuse yourself. Your confusion strategy must be built on absolute clarity about your real objectives. You must know exactly what you want while making it impossible for others to know what you want. You must be perfectly clear about your path while making your path appear unclear to observers. Confusion is a tool, not a condition. You create confusion in others while maintaining clarity in yourself. You generate uncertainty in your enemies while preserving certainty in your strategy. You manufacture doubt in their minds while eliminating doubt from your own. The confused cannot compete with the clear. Use their confusion to create your advantage. Victory is not achieved in battle. Victory is achieved before battle begins. The battle itself is merely the confirmation of a victory that has already been secured through superior positioning, preparation, and strategy. If you are unsure of the outcome, you are not ready to engage. If you cannot see your path to victory, you must delay until that path becomes clear. The amateur fights hoping to win. The master fights knowing he has already won. This is not arrogance. This is mathematics. By the time the master engages, he has calculated every variable, accounted for every contingency, positioned every resource. The outcome is inevitable. Because the foundation for victory was built before the conflict ever became visible, most people fight battles they should avoid. They engage conflicts they cannot win. They enter competitions they are not prepared for. They challenge opponents they have not studied. They react to provocations instead of responding strategically. This is why most people lose battles they should have won and fight battles they should have avoided entirely. But you will be different. You will never engage unless engagement serves your larger strategy. You will never fight unless fighting improves your position regardless of the immediate outcome. You will never enter conflict unless you have already secured the resources necessary for victory. Here's what most people don't understand about this principle. It does not mean you avoid all risk. It means you only take calculated risks where the probability of success exceeds the cost of failure. It means you engage only when engagement serves your long-term objectives, whether you win or lose the immediate battle. The master evaluates every potential conflict through multiple lenses. Can I win this battle with my current resources? If I win, does victory advance my larger strategy? If I lose, does defeat teach me valuable intelligence? Can I achieve my objectives without fighting at all? Is this battle a distraction from more important battles I should be fighting? But let me ask you this. What happens when you only fight battles you have already won? Your reputation grows, your confidence builds, your resources multiply. Your enemies become reluctant to challenge you because they see a pattern of victories. That suggests challenging you is futile. The strategic delay is often more powerful than the immediate attack. When you delay engagement, you gain time to improve your position. You gather additional intelligence about your opponent. You allow them to make mistakes that weaken their position. You create opportunities for victory that did not exist when the conflict first emerged. Patience is power when patience serves strategy. The opponent who cannot wait reveals their desperation. The opponent who must act immediately shows their weakness. The opponent who demands immediate engagement demonstrates their lack of preparation. Use their impatience against them. But remember, this is not about avoiding all conflict. This is about choosing your conflicts strategically. Some battles must be fought not because you want to fight them, but because avoiding them weakens your strategic position. Some engagements serve purposes that extend far beyond their immediate outcomes. The wise warrior fights battles that strengthen his position regardless of their immediate outcome. He engages conflicts that generate intelligence about his enemy's capabilities. He enters competitions that build his reputation even if he does not win. He chooses confrontations that position him advantageously for future battles. Every battle you fight should serve your larger campaign. Every engagement should advance your strategic position. Every conflict should either secure resources, gather intelligence, build reputation, or eliminate threats. If a battle serves none of these purposes, it is a distraction that weakens you regardless of its outcome. Study the terrain before you engage. Understand your enemy's capabilities before you challenge them. Secure your resources before you commit them. Plan your victory before you begin your battle. When victory is assured, engage with confidence. When victory is uncertain, delay with wisdom. The undefeated warrior is not undefeated because he is stronger than all opponents. He is undefeated because he only fights battles he has already won. Force is expensive. Illusion is economical. Force creates resistance. Illusion eliminates resistance. Force requires resources. Illusion requires only intelligence. The master achieves maximum results with minimum effort because he understands that perception often matters more than reality, and controlled perception costs nothing while producing everything. When you win through force, you create enemies who remember their defeat and seek revenge. When you win through illusion, you create allies who believe they participated in victory. When you defeat someone through strength, they learn to build stronger defenses. When you defeat someone through illusion, they never understand how they were defeated and cannot defend against it happening again. The strongest armies win through superior firepower. The smartest armies win through superior positioning. But the wisest armies win through superior psychology. They make their enemies defeat themselves. They create conditions where resistance becomes futile, not because it is overpowered, but because it serves no purpose. Here's what most people don't understand about illusion as strategy. It is not about creating false realities. It is about emphasizing certain aspects of reality while de-emphasizing others. It is about directing attention toward information that serves your purpose while directing attention away from information that undermines it. Watch how this works in negotiation. Instead of demanding what you want through force, You create conditions where giving you what you want appears to be their idea. Instead of threatening consequences for non-compliance, you make compliance appear to be the obviously beneficial choice. Instead of overpowering their resistance, you eliminate the logical foundation for resistance. The master of illusion understands that people resist being controlled but embrace making choices. So he presents his desired outcome as their best available choice. He structures the situation so that what he wants them to do is what they want to do. He aligns his interests with their interests so perfectly that serving him feels like serving themselves. But let me ask you this. What happens when your opponents believe they are winning while you achieve your actual objectives? They continue cooperating with your strategy because they see no reason to resist it. They provide the resources you need because they believe those resources serve their purposes. They eliminate their own defenses because they perceive no threat. The illusion of choice is more powerful than the reality of force. When people believe they are choosing freely, they commit fully to their choice. When they feel forced, they comply minimally and seek opportunities to rebel. The master presents his requirements as their options and his demands as their decisions. But remember, successful illusion requires understanding what your targets want to believe about themselves and their situation. People accept illusions that confirm their self-image and reject illusions that contradict it. They embrace illusions that make them feel smart, powerful, or morally superior. They resist illusions that make them feel manipulated, weak, or foolish. The greatest illusion is making your enemies believe they are your partners, making your competitors think they are your allies, making your opponents feel they are your collaborators. When they believe they are working with you instead of against you, they share intelligence instead of concealing it. They support your objectives instead of sabotaging them. Force announces itself. Illusion conceals itself. Force creates stories of conquest. Illusion creates stories of cooperation. Force builds monuments to power. Illusion builds relationships that serve power. The master chooses the tool that achieves his objectives with the least cost and the greatest sustainability. Let them believe they are winning while you achieve victory. Let them feel they are in control while you direct outcomes. Let them think. They are making decisions while you present the choices. This is not deception. This is artistry. Predictability is death. When your enemies can anticipate your actions, they can counter them. When they can predict your responses, they can manipulate them. When they can forecast your behavior, they can position themselves to exploit it. The predictable person becomes a tool in someone else's strategy, but presence without predictability is power. You must be seen, known, recognized, but never fully understood. You must establish patterns, then break them before your enemies can use those patterns against you. You must create expectations, then exceed them in ways that serve your purpose while confusing your opposition. Most people fall into behavioral patterns because patterns feel efficient. They respond to similar situations in similar ways. They use the same strategies for the same types of problems. They become readable, mappable, exploitable. Their enemies learn to push certain buttons to get certain responses. Their competitors learn to create certain conditions to provoke certain behaviors. You will not make this mistake. You understand that efficiency in behavior is vulnerability in strategy. The moment someone can predict your next move is the moment they can prepare to counter it. The instant they understand your pattern is the instant they can disrupt it. But here's what most people don't understand about unpredictability. It is not randomness. Randomness is chaos without purpose. Strategic unpredictability is controlled variation with clear objectives. You change your methods while maintaining your goals. You alter your tactics while preserving your strategy. Watch how the master operates. In one situation, he responds aggressively. In a similar situation, he responds with patience. With one type of person, he speaks directly. With another type, he speaks diplomatically. In one negotiation, he makes the first offer. In the next, he waits for them to reveal their position first. His responses appear inconsistent to observers, but are perfectly logical within his larger strategic framework. The predictable person fights the same battle repeatedly. The unpredictable person fights each battle uniquely. This means his enemies cannot prepare a standard response. They cannot develop a reliable strategy for dealing with him. They must approach each encounter fresh, without the advantage of prior experience. But let me ask you this. What happens when people cannot predict how you will respond to their actions? They become cautious. They hesitate before challenging you. They waste mental energy trying to anticipate your reaction instead of focusing on their own objectives. Your unpredictability becomes their distraction. Change your rhythm regularly. If you typically respond immediately, sometimes delay. If you usually speak first, sometimes remain silent. If you normally agree easily, sometimes push back. If you typically negotiate hard, sometimes accept their first offer. Keep them guessing what version of you they will encounter. Your unpredictability should serve your strategic objectives. Be aggressive when aggression advances your position. Be cooperative when cooperation serves your purpose. Be mysterious when mystery creates advantage. Be transparent when transparency builds trust that you can later leverage. The master understands that different situations require different versions of his authentic self. He is not being fake. He is being strategically adaptive. He emphasizes different aspects of his personality based on what each situation requires for optimal outcomes. But remember, while you become unpredictable to others, you must remain perfectly predictable to yourself. You must know exactly why you are choosing each response. You must understand how each variation serves your larger strategy. You must maintain internal consistency while projecting external variability. Document your patterns so you can break them strategically. Study your own behavior so you can modify it tactically. Understand your own tendencies so you can surprise others by acting against those tendencies when it serves your purpose. The unpredictable opponent is the undefeatable opponent because defeating someone requires understanding them well enough to counter their strategy. If their strategy constantly evolves, it cannot be countered permanently. Be everywhere and nowhere. Be familiar and foreign. Be expected and surprising. Let them think they know you while ensuring they never truly understand you. United they stand. Divided they fall. The enemy with allies is 10 times stronger than the enemy alone. Your first objective is not to defeat your target. It is to separate your target from their sources of strength. Cut the roots before you. Attack the tree. Remove the support before you strike the structure. Every person you face draws power from their network. Their confidence comes from their allies. Their resources flow from their relationships. Their information arrives through their connections. Neutralize the network, and you neutralize the individual. Isolate the target, and victory becomes inevitable. But isolation is not achieved through force. Isolation is achieved through influence. You do not drive wedges between your target and their allies. You create conditions where those allies choose to distance themselves. You do not attack their relationships. You make those relationships costly to maintain. Study your targets. Network carefully. Who provides them with information? Who supplies them with resources? Who supports them emotionally? Who validates their decisions? Who amplifies their influence? These are not random relationships. These are strategic assets. Every strategic asset can become a strategic liability under the right conditions. Here's what most people don't understand about isolation strategy. It is not about making enemies of their allies. It is about making their allies neutral, or, better yet, making their allies your allies. The person who supports your target today can be convinced to support you tomorrow if you understand what they really want from that relationship. Watch how this works in practice. Your target's strongest ally supports them because that relationship provides something valuable: recognition, resources, protection, information, or opportunity. If you can provide that same value more effectively, you can redirect their loyalty. If you can threaten that value more credibly, you can neutralize their support. The master of isolation understands that most alliances are transactional rather than emotional. People support others because that support serves their interests. Change the incentive structure, and you change the alliance structure. Make supporting your target costly and supporting you profitable, and watch how quickly loyalties shift. But let me ask you this: what happens when your target realizes they are being isolated? They panic. They make desperate attempts to rebuild their network. They offer concessions they would never normally consider. They reveal information they would typically conceal. Their isolation becomes their desperation, and their desperation becomes your advantage. Create doubt between your target and their allies without appearing to create that doubt. Ask innocent questions that highlight contradictions in their shared interests. Share information that reveals how your target's success might threaten their allies' positions. Plant seeds of suspicion that grow into forests of mistrust. The isolated target makes poor decisions because they lack the counsel that previously guided their strategy. They overestimate their capabilities because they have no one to provide realistic feedback. They underestimate threats because they have no network to provide early warning. Isolation creates not just weakness, but blindness. But remember, isolation is a tool, not an end goal. The purpose of isolating your target is to make them more vulnerable to your primary strategy. Once they are separated from their sources of strength, you can negotiate from a position of overwhelming advantage. You can dictate terms they would never accept if they still had alternatives. The master isolates quietly. He turns allies into neutrals so gradually that no one notices the shift until it is complete. He redirects loyalties so smoothly that former Iran allies believe they made independent decisions to change their allegiances. He creates conditions where supporting his target becomes obviously unwise without making it appear that he influenced that outcome. Your target's network is their lifeline. Cut that lifeline strategically, and they become dependent on you for survival. Their former strength becomes their current weakness. Their past alliances become their present isolation. Divide their forces, scatter their support, fragment their network, then engage them when they stand alone against your consolidated power. No one will hand you power. No one will offer you control. No one will give you influence. These things are taken by those who understand how to seize them and held by those who understand how to maintain them. If you wait for permission to be powerful, you will wait forever while others take the power you could have claimed. The world is not a meritocracy where good performance is automatically rewarded with advancement. The world is a hierarchy where position is claimed by those bold enough to claim it and defended by those smart enough to defend it. The deserving do not automatically receive. The taking automatically possess. Most people wait for recognition. That never comes. They perform excellently and expect excellence to be noticed. They work hard and assume hard work will be rewarded. They demonstrate value and believe value will be acknowledged. But recognition, reward, and acknowledgement are not given to the deserving. They are taken by the strategic. Here's what most people don't understand about power dynamics. Power exists whether you claim it or not. If you do not take the power available in your situation, someone else will. If you do not seize the influence within your reach, another person will grab it. Nature abhors a vacuum, and human hierarchies abhor unclaimed authority. The person who acts with authority is treated as an authority. The person who speaks with power is heard as powerful. The person who carries themselves like a leader is followed as a leader. Authority is not granted by title. Authority is demonstrated through behavior and claimed through action. But let me ask you this: what happens when you act as if you already possess the power you want? People respond to your assumed authority. They defer to your projected confidence. They accept your claimed expertise. They follow your demonstrated leadership. Your assumption of power becomes others' acknowledgement of power. The master understands that power is perceptual before it becomes actual. You must be seen as powerful before you can become powerful. You must project authority before you can possess authority. You must claim influence before you can wield influence. The external appearance of power creates the internal reality of power. Study the powerful and notice how they moved from powerless to powerful. They did not wait for permission. They did not ask for authorization. They did not seek approval. They identified opportunities for influence and seized them. They saw vacuums of leadership and filled them. They recognized needs for direction and provided it. But taking power requires understanding the terrain where power exists. In your workplace, power flows through information, relationships, and resources. Control the information, build the relationships, manage the resources, and you control the workplace dynamics. In your industry, power concentrates around expertise, connections, and reputation. Develop the expertise, cultivate the connections, build the reputation. The strategic taker of power does not announce his intentions. He simply begins acting with the authority he seeks. He starts making decisions that need to be made. He begins solving problems that need to be solved. He takes responsibility for outcomes that need to be managed. Authority follows action. Your current position is not your permanent position unless you choose to make it permanent. Your current level of influence is not your maximum level of influence, unless you choose to accept it as maximum. Your current access to resources is not your ultimate access, unless you choose to stop expanding that access. But remember, taking power is only half the battle. Keeping power requires different skills than gaining power. You must be bold enough to seize authority and wise enough to exercise it effectively. You must be aggressive enough to claim influence and diplomatic enough to maintain it. The power taker understands that every situation contains more power than is currently being exercised. Every organization has leadership gaps that can be filled. Every industry has influence, vacuums that can be occupied. Every community has authority opportunities that can be claimed. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your potential. Start demonstrating your power. Stop hoping for opportunities to be offered. Start creating opportunities to be seized. Stop expecting power to be given. Start taking power that is available. The powerful are not chosen by others. The powerful choose themselves. Timing is more powerful than talent. Timing is more valuable than resources. Timing is more decisive than strategy. The right action at the wrong time fails. The wrong action at the right time succeeds. The perfect action at the perfect time becomes legendary. Master timing, and you master outcomes. The world operates in rhythms, cycles, and moments of opportunity that open and close like windows. The amateur focuses on what to do. The professional focuses on how to do it. The master focuses on when to do it. When is often more important than what or how because when determines whether what and how will matter at all. Most people act when they feel ready. But feeling ready is not the same as being positioned for success. The market does not care if you feel ready. The opportunity does not wait for your comfort. The moment does not pause for your preparation. You must be ready when the moment arrives, not become ready after the moment has passed. Here's what most people don't understand about timing. It is not about waiting for the perfect moment. Perfect moments are rare and usually obvious to everyone, which means they are also highly competitive. Strategic timing is about recognizing good moments before they become obvious moments and acting while others are still hesitating. The master of timing studies patterns that others ignore. He notices when industries shift, when leaders change, when markets move, when attention cycles, when energy builds, when resistance weakens. He sees the early indicators that signal approaching opportunities and positions himself before those opportunities become visible to competitors. Watch how timing works in negotiation. The person who asks for what they want when the other party is in a good mood receives different consideration than the person who asks when the other party is stressed. The person who makes their offer when their target is facing pressure gets different results than the person who makes the same offer when their target feels secure. But let me ask you this. What happens when you strike at exactly the right moment? Resistance collapses. Opposition crumbles. Success appears effortless, not because your action was perfect, but because your timing was precise. The same action at a different time would have faced different resistance and produced different results. The ruthlessly timed action hits when defenses are down, when attention is elsewhere, when energy is low, when options are limited. It strikes when the target is vulnerable, rather than when the striker feels confident. It moves when conditions favor success rather than when conditions favor comfort, but timing requires sacrifice. You must sometimes act before you feel fully prepared. You must sometimes wait when you feel urgently motivated. You must sometimes accelerate when you prefer to deliberate. You must sometimes delay when you want immediate results. Your feelings must serve your timing, not control it. The master understands that there are three types of timing: too early, too late, and exactly right. Too early means your action has no context to support it. Too late means your action has no opportunity to matter. Exactly right means your action arrives precisely when conditions maximize its impact. Study your targets and learn their rhythms. When are they most receptive? When are they most defensive? When are they making decisions? When are they distracted? When do they have resources? When are they under pressure? Map their cycles and time your moves to their patterns. But remember, timing is not just about when you act. Timing is also about when you don't act. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move. Sometimes the most effective action is deliberate inaction. Sometimes waiting is more strategic than acting, because the conditions will be more favorable tomorrow than they are today. The perfectly timed action appears magical to observers, because they cannot see the analysis that preceded it. They witness the strike, but not the study. They see the success, but not the patience. They observe the outcome, but not the opportunity recognition that made it possible. Your competitors are focused on building better products. Your colleagues are focused on working harder. Your rivals are focused on gathering more resources. But you understand that all of these efforts are worthless without precise timing. Better products launched at wrong times fail. Harder work applied at wrong moments wastes energy. More resources deployed at wrong times disappear without impact. Time your strikes. Time your silence. Time your reveals. Time your retreats. When you master timing, you master everything else. Every person is a resource. Every individual contains capabilities that can serve your objectives. Even your enemies possess knowledge, connections, skills, or access that can advance your strategy. The master does not see people as obstacles to overcome. He sees them as tools to employ, assets to leverage, instruments to play in service of his larger composition. Fighting people is expensive and unpredictable. Using people is economical and controllable. When you fight someone, you create resistance, resentment, and retaliation. When you use someone, you create cooperation, contribution, and sometimes gratitude. The person who serves your purpose willingly is infinitely more valuable than the person you force to serve against their will. Most people approach human interaction as competition. They try to win conversations, dominate relationships, prove superiority, establish dominance. But competition creates enemies. Utilization creates allies. The competitive approach makes people defensive. The utilitarian approach makes people useful. Here's what most people don't understand about human utilization. It is not manipulation when it serves mutual benefit. Most people want to be useful. They want their skills to be valued. They want their knowledge to be sought. They want their connections to matter. When you show people how helping you helps them, they help enthusiastically. The master student of human nature understands that every person is motivated by specific desires: recognition, security, advancement, belonging, autonomy, purpose. Identify what motivates each individual, then present your requests in ways that satisfy those motivations. Make serving your interests feel like serving their interests. Watch how this works with different personality types. The person motivated by recognition responds to public acknowledgement for their contributions. The person motivated by security responds to opportunities that reduce their risk. The person motivated by advancement responds to associations that enhance their career prospects. Match your approach to their motivation. But let me ask you this: what happens when people believe that helping you advances their own agenda? They volunteer assistance instead of waiting for requests. They propose solutions instead of presenting problems. They become advocates instead of remaining neutral. They transform from potential obstacles into active allies. The strategic user of people does not see individuals as friends or enemies. He sees them as assets with different capabilities, different access levels, different information, different influences. Some people are useful for their expertise, others for their connections, others for their resources, others for their positions. Everyone is useful for something, but usage requires understanding. You must study people more carefully than you study markets, because people are more complex than markets and more unpredictable than systems. Learn what they want, what they fear, what they value, what they avoid. Understand their pressure points and their pleasure points. Your former enemy can become your most valuable asset because they understand your opposition better than your natural allies do. The person who once competed against you knows your weaknesses and your strategies. Convert them into an advisor and you gain intelligence that no friend could provide. The master understands that opposition often stems from misunderstanding rather than fundamental conflict. When people resist your agenda, it is often because they cannot see how your agenda serves their interests. Show them the connection, and resistance transforms into cooperation. But remember, utilization must be sustainable. If people feel used rather than useful, they withdraw their cooperation and potentially become active opponents. The art is making people feel valuable while they provide value, appreciated while they contribute, respected while they serve your purposes. Everyone has something you need: information, access, skills, resources, connections, influence, or simply their absence of interference. The person who appears useless in one context may be invaluable in another context. Study each individual until you understand exactly how they can serve your larger objectives. Your network is your net worth, but only if you know how to activate that network strategically. Don't just collect people, cultivate them. Don't just know people, understand how to mobilize them. Don't just maintain relationships, leverage those relationships for outcomes that serve everyone involved. The master wins not because he defeats everyone, but because he uses everyone. He turns competitors into collaborators, enemies into assets, obstacles into opportunities. He fights fewer battles because he recruits more soldiers. Your energy is your most precious resource, more valuable than time, more finite than money, more critical than connections. Energy spent foolishly cannot be recovered. Energy drained unnecessarily cannot be replaced. Energy wasted on unworthy battles cannot be redirected to worthy victories. Guard your energy like you guard your life, because your energy is your life. The master of strategy understands that every interaction either builds energy or drains energy. Every relationship either multiplies force or dissipates force. Every activity either advances objectives or wastes resources. You must become ruthlessly selective about where you invest your mental, emotional, and physical capacity. Most people scatter their energy like leaves in wind. They respond to every provocation. They engage every argument. They attend every meeting. They answer every call. They accept every invitation. They react to every crisis. By the end of each day, they have expended enormous effort while accomplishing minimal progress toward their real objectives. But you will be different. You will treat your energy like a general treats his army, deploying it strategically, concentrating it decisively, preserving it carefully. You will not waste ammunition on insignificant skirmishes while preparing for decisive battles. You will not exhaust your forces on unwinnable conflicts while opportunities for victory await your attention. Here's what most people don't understand about energy management. Saying no to good opportunities is often more important than saying yes to good opportunities. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Every commitment to low-value activities is a withdrawal from high-value possibilities. The energy drainers are everywhere. The colleague who complains without seeking solutions. The friend who creates drama without accepting responsibility. The meeting that could have been an email. The argument that will change no minds. The project that serves someone else's agenda while ignoring your own. Identify these drainers and eliminate them systematically. But let me ask you this. What happens when you protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your money? You have surplus capacity for unexpected opportunities. You maintain clarity for important decisions. You preserve strength for crucial battles. You operate from abundance rather than scarcity. You become more powerful because you become more selective. The master protects his energy through boundaries that others respect because they are enforced consistently. He does not negotiate his non-negotiables. He does not explain his boundaries repeatedly. He does not justify his energy allocation decisions. He simply maintains them until others adapt their expectations to his reality. Energy protection requires saying no more often than saying yes. No to requests that do not advance your objectives. No to people who consume more than they contribute. No to activities that feel busy but produce no meaningful results. No to emotional reactions that serve no strategic purpose. No becomes your most powerful word when used strategically. But protection is not isolation. The master builds energy while he protects energy. He surrounds himself with people who energize rather than drain him. He chooses activities that compound rather than consume his resources. He selects environments that restore rather than deplete his capacity. Study your energy patterns. Notice which activities increase your capacity and which decrease it. Observe which people leave you feeling stronger and which leave you feeling weaker. Track which environments enhance your performance and which undermine it. Then restructures your life to maximize the energizing elements while minimizing the draining elements. The depleted strategist makes poor decisions because depletion clouds judgment. The exhausted leader inspires no one because exhaustion is contagious. The drained competitor loses battles they should win because they lack the resources necessary for victory. Energy management is performance management. Your energy is not unlimited. Your capacity is not infinite. Your stamina is not inexhaustible. These limitations make energy allocation the most critical skill you can develop. Spend your energy like a master spends his money, deliberately, strategically, with clear expected returns on investment. The fortress protects what matters most by keeping threats outside the walls. Your energy fortress protects your capacity by keeping drainers outside your boundaries. Build those walls high. Make those gates selective. Guard those resources carefully. When you protect your energy like a fortress, you operate like a force of nature, unstoppable because undrainable, powerful because preserved, effective because efficient. Victory is dangerous. Success attracts attention you do not want. Achievement creates enemies you did not have. The moment you win is the moment you become a target. The wise victor does not celebrate in public. He vanishes before others understand what he has accomplished. The amateur savors victory. He announces his success. He enjoys recognition. He basks in admiration. He makes himself visible in his moment of triumph. But visibility after victory is vulnerability before the next battle. Today's winner becomes tomorrow's target. Today's success becomes tomorrow's expectation. When you win, everyone studies your methods. They analyze your strategy, they map your resources, they identify your advantages, they search for your weaknesses. Victory provides intelligence to your future enemies about exactly how you operate when you are successful. This intelligence will be used against you in battles you have not yet fought. Here's what most people don't understand about post-victory. Strategy. The time immediately after success is when you are most vulnerable to retaliation, most exposed to envy, most likely to become overconfident. Your enemies are motivated by your victory to find ways to defeat you. Your competitors are inspired by your success to develop superior strategies. The master wins, then disappears. He achieves his objective, then becomes invisible. He secures. His victory then eliminates his profile. By the time others realize he has won, he has already moved beyond their reach. By the time they understand his strategy, he has already changed it. But disappearing after victory does not mean abandoning the fruits of victory. It means protecting those fruits by removing yourself as a target. It means consolidating your gains while avoiding the backlash that comes with visible success. It means securing your position while others debate how you achieved it. Watch how the truly successful operate. They win quietly, they achieve privately, they advance without fanfare. They understand that sustained success requires avoiding the attention that destroys sustained success. They know that staying powerful is harder than becoming powerful. The visible victor faces three threats: retaliation from those he defeated, competition from those inspired by his success, and expectation from those who now demand repeated performance. The invisible victor faces none of these threats because no one knows he exists to threaten. But let me ask you this: what happens when people cannot connect you to your victories? They cannot study your methods to counter them. They cannot target you for retaliation. They cannot pressure you to repeat performance. You remain free to operate while they search for shadows. The disappearing act serves multiple purposes. It prevents retaliation by removing the target. It maintains strategic mystery by hiding your capabilities. It preserves energy by avoiding celebrations. It protects future operations by keeping methods secret. It allows you to prepare for the next victory while others are still processing the last one. Your legend grows when you are absent, not when you are present. Mystery creates mythology. Absence makes the heart grow fonder and the imagination grow wilder. Let others tell stories about your victories while you prepare your next ones. Let others analyze your past while you engineer your future. The master understands that multiple small, invisible victories compound into massive, undeniable success. But each individual victory must remain invisible until the compound effect becomes so overwhelming that individual victories no longer matter because the overall dominance is irreversible. But remember, disappearing requires discipline. Your ego wants credit. Your pride demands recognition. Your vanity seeks applause. These impulses will expose you to dangers that will cost you more than the recognition is worth. Satisfaction from invisible success must be greater than satisfaction from visible success. Document your victories privately. Celebrate your achievements secretly. Analyze your successes quietly. Learn from your wins silently. Build your confidence internally. Let the results speak when speaking serves your purpose, but let silence protect when protection serves your strategy. The ghost that wins repeatedly is more feared than the warrior who wins once loudly. Be the ghost. Win repeatedly. Disappear consistently. Let your enemies fight shadows while you prepare your next strike from the darkness they cannot penetrate. The greatest power is invisible power. The strongest influence operates without announcement. The most effective control functions without recognition. You have moved beyond the need to be seen as powerful because you have become actually powerful. You have transcended the desire for obvious authority because you possess genuine authority. The shadow ruler shapes events without appearing to participate in them. He influences decisions without joining discussions. He directs outcomes without taking credit for results. His presence is felt but not seen. His impact is massive but untraced. He has become the force that moves other forces while remaining motionless himself. Most people want their power to be visible. They want their influence to be acknowledged. They want their control to be recognized. But visible power creates resistance. Acknowledged influence generates opposition. Recognized control provokes rebellion. The shadow operates beyond resistance because resistance cannot target what it cannot see. You are no longer competing with others because you are operating on a different level than others. You are no longer fighting battles because you are shaping the conditions that determine who fights whom and where and when. You are no longer seeking victory because you are creating the circumstances that make your desired outcomes inevitable. The shadow ruler understands that the most powerful position is the position that appears to hold no power. The person who seems uninvolved but influences everything. The individual who appears neutral but shapes all sides. The presence that seems absent but controls the environment. Here's what most people will never understand about ultimate strategic mastery. It looks like you are doing nothing while everything moves according to your design. It appears that events unfold naturally while you orchestrate every development. It seems that others make independent decisions while you provide the information that guides their choices. Watch how this works in any complex system. The shadow ruler plants ideas that others adopt as their own. He creates conditions that make his preferred outcomes seem obvious to decision makers. He structures situations so that what he wants to happen is what naturally happens. He becomes the invisible hand that guides the visible process. But let me ask you this. What happens when you no longer need to convince anyone of anything because circumstances convince them for you? What happens when you no longer need to argue your position because reality argues your position? What happens when you no longer need to fight for what you want because what you want becomes what everyone wants? The shadow operates through systems, not personalities, through processes, not politics, through structure, not struggle. He builds mechanisms that produce his desired results automatically. He creates frameworks that channel energy toward his objectives naturally. He establishes patterns that repeat his preferred outcomes consistently. Your fingerprints are on nothing. Your voice is heard nowhere. Your presence is detected by no one. Yet your influence shapes everything that matters. You have become the silent architect of visible results, the invisible designer of obvious outcomes, the hidden composer of the symphony. Everyone else believes they are playing spontaneously. The room bends to your will without knowing you have a will. The conversation flows in directions you desire without anyone recognizing your guidance. The decisions emerge that serve your purposes without anyone understanding whose purposes they serve. You have become the gravity that pulls everything toward your objectives while appearing to exert no force at all. But remember, becoming the shadow requires mastering everything that came before this moment. You must understand war before you can transcend war. You must know battle before you can avoid battle. You must comprehend force before you can replace force with influence. The shadow is not weak. The shadow is strength so complete it needs no demonstration. You have learned to appear weak when strong, to hide intentions while achieving objectives, to control perception while shaping reality, to move in silence while creating enormous impact. Now you combine all these capabilities into something beyond strategy, into artistry. The shadow that rules the room is not in the room. The force that shapes the conversation is not part of the conversation. The power that determines outcomes is not visible in the process. You have become the unseen master of the seen world. This is your graduation from warrior to architect, from player to designer, from participant to orchestrator. You no longer win games. You create the rules that determine how games are won. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it.